So you will have two cubes that you'll get that are already pre-cut. Okay? So then what we need to do is make them into pinch pots. And last week we kind of watched how to make them into pinch pots, but I'm going to show you. So I'm going to show you how to make it with this one, and then you're going to tell me how to make it with this one. Okay? So first thing you're going to do is you're going to round off these pointy edges with the palm of your hand. So you're going to tap them so that this will automatically start going to a sphere. So just tap the edges, right? And then I go back and forth and I rotate it. I'll go kind of slow. You see that? And then you're turning it into a sphere. It's kind of like if you're making homemade meatballs. Or spaghetti and meatballs. Okay? Then you're going to take your thumb and you're going to press it in to make an indent. But you're just going to go to your first knuckle here. So you're not going to go very deep. We don't want it to turn into a donut. We just want to make an opening. So we're going to push this in to the first. Okay? So now I have a hole inside. And I'm going to pinch around one time, one rotation, 360 degrees. And I'm pushing with my thumb out to open this up. So right now it's like a mouth and it's going, and we need it to go, ah. Okay, so we're going to open it, one pinch around. So now we've opened it up. Okay, the next thing I do is I kind of create my own clay wheel. So I will put the clay upside down and I do what I call Spider-Man. You know, if you're doing this like webs. And I'm going to turn it upside down onto my fingers. And I'm going to leave my other fingers out, and I'm going to rotate it, and I'm pinching. So I'm pinching here, and I'm pinching with this meaty part of my hand, because I want it to all be equal. The bottom be equal, the sides be equal. Does that make sense? I'm going around and around and around till it all feels, the walls are all equal in thickness. I don't want one side to be thicker and the other side to be thinner. Jack, can you turn so you can see, please? Perfect. Okay, so there's one half. And then I need to make the other half, right, to put the body together. So how do I do that? What do I do first with my cube? Ava. Round out the edges. Round out the edges. What do I do next? Go ahead.
Throw it back and forth between your hands.
Throw it back and forth between my hands. Okay, so we're getting it round. It doesn't have, students always go, does it have to be perfectly round? No, it doesn't have to be perfectly round, but round enough, right? And then what's next? My finger?
Nope, thumb.
Oh, my thumb? And
Knuckle. Up to your knuckle.
up to my knuckle.
Your first knuckle.
First knuckle.
Yeah.
Got it. I don't want a donut. Then what? Pinch around. How much?
360 degrees.
360 degrees. Pinch, 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 pinch. And then what do I do?
Spider-Man.
Yes.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man move. Flip it over, right? And I'm going to go around and around and around. And so I'm moving it and I'm pinching all at the same time. So it's going around and around. And so I'm making this equal. So have you guys ever seen those kissing fish before?
Yeah.
And they're always like stuck together, their mouths, right? Okay. Some of you have, some of you haven't. So we want the mouth of this container. So if we look at a container, there's different parts to it. So this is considered the mouth, the opening. This here is the lip, just like on us, right? So the mouth, the lip. This is the body of the container right here, the edge, the body, the side wall. And then this is the foot right here that it rests on. Jack, please turn around so you can see. Okay? So we need the mouths to match up. So we're going to see here if they are about the same size. Looks pretty good, right? You don't want one that's really big and one that's small, because then when you go to match it up, it will fall inside of the other. You don't want them both really wide, or it will be more like a flat pancake. So you want them more rounded, but you want them to fit. All right, then we're going to open up our beads that we made the other day.
How dry are they?
They are dry. Some of them are pretty dry, like this is probably bone dry. These are more leather hard, but they'll dry out more as they're in there.
Together.
Nope. I'm going to take some newspaper. And I need to put the beads in one half, so I'll just put them inside a piece of newspaper, wrap it up. What? like this. It's okay if it rips, it's not that big deal. And stick it inside. And then I'm going to put newspaper on the other half. But I don't want the newspaper sticking up and out, so I want it pretty level. So if I put my hand on top, it can touch the top of my hand, but I don't want my hand to be curved. Does that make sense? So the newspaper is going to help support this because it is hollow inside, right? This is all hollow. So what happens is the newspaper will burn away and turn to ashes and come out the little hole that will poke, and they'll be gone, and then it will be nice and hollow, and just the beads will stay in there. Wow. So we are going to use some tools here to put these two together so we can make the body. So I'm going to use, you can use a fork, I'll show you. So we're going to score on the edges like we had talked about. Or you could use a knife tool if somebody else is using that. You can use this to kind of put some scratches. There's a wooden knife you can use. There's this kind of serrated edged knife that you can scrape. Anything just to make some rough edges into the clay works. Then I'm going to take my slip and I'm going to put it just on one half. I'm not going to put it on both. Raise your hand if you have, or maybe your mom or dad has made you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and they put way too much jelly on your sandwich, and then you get to school and all the jelly has leaked out onto the bread all around. Yeah, I see a lot of hands going up. Happens to me. We love jelly, but that happens, right? So if we put slip on both sides, it's going to be too much, and when we put it together, it's going to start oozing all over, and we don't want it to be oozing like that. Okay, so I got slip and score on one and score on the other. Okay? Sorry, I have a little hair. Let me get that. Okay, then we're going to put them together, and I'm going to start to twist them back and forth, just like we talked about, you know, those grooves locking together. So I'm trying to lock them into place where it won't twist anymore. So I'm kind of getting them here, twist, twist, and I feel it locking. Perfect. So now we kind of have a sphere here, but it doesn't look very good, right? It's got this big seam going through it. So we want that to be nice and smooth. So it's going to look ugly before it looks better, I always tell students. We're going to take this tool. You could take a knife tool. You could take a smaller one. And we're going to scrape across to blend that away. So we're moving the clay from one side to the other. So if it's thicker on one side, we will move it around here. So I kind of have to look at it and see what side of the seam is the clay thicker on. So it's looking a little better. We'll get it here. So then we have this tool, and I have more of these. I have one in each bucket, but I have a big container of them, so I'll have them out if you need one. These are good for smoothing, so you can use this to smooth. Okay. Also, it's good for smoothing is tapping your hand on top of the sponge just to dampen your fingers, and then using that. Don't get too much water or it will get kind of sloppy and sticky, and you don't want it all really, really wet. A lot of students will take this all the way out and it's like dripping, and they start putting it all over their clay piece, and then it's just like water and gooey, and then it's hard to like stick things to it afterwards. So you just need a little bit of water, and then you can smooth out your seam. All right, so now we have, looks like an orange or a grapefruit, right? Well, a gray one, a gray grapefruit. And we want it to look like the body of our creature, whatever that might be. So we're going to do some tapping to kind of sculpt it or shape it to what shape we want. You have to think about also, do you want your creature's belly section to be on the table or sitting up kind of like a bear would be sitting up, like a panda bear with its legs sticking out, or like a baby, you know, sitting up with its legs out and arms out. So is it sitting up like this, or is it down on its tummy? So I'm going to do mine down on its tummy just so I can get more legs in there. So I'm going to tap it like this so I get a nice flat bottom to it. And then I'm going to start clapping my hands together against the clay to form the shape that I want. So I want mine to go maybe a little narrower out the back. So I'm tapping.
What if want the back to be narrow, but it's the other way.
You can do it however you want. So you're just doing clapping or tapping very gently to move the clay. Because it is hollow inside, so it will move pretty well, but you don't want it to crack. So I'm getting a couple little cracks that I'm going to smooth out here before I move on. I'm doing mine just a little more narrow. So let's say that's the body that I want, right? It's flat on the bottom, and then I kind of did this where it goes narrower out the back as an idea. Okay, once this is done, we'll need to poke a hole in the bottom. I have needle tools. I don't have them out, so I'm just going to use this to poke a hole. And we want to poke a hole because we want the air from inside to be able to come out and not break our project, right? So if there's a little hole, that will allow it for it to come out. And I can feel the newspaper in there, so I know I've gone all the way through. This hole will also shrink down a little bit, so it's not as large. Some students take something and they do like a really big hole, and then what happens is their beads fall out because the hole's too big. So make sure you just do like a little needle hole. It just needs to be enough for the air to come out as it expands. All right, once your body is done, you're gonna go up to get some more clay. Okay, so you're gonna go up to the table and grab some more clay. We're gonna now make the head.
Nice.
Yes.
What if, like, mine is a mix between a shark and a scorpion,
Uh-huh.
and the tail is a scorpion? How would I, like, curve it up?
We will do tails in just a minute. We're gonna go head, we'll do arms and legs, and we'll do tails, fins, and then we'll do wings and things like that. All right, so what you're gonna do is get this into the shape that you want your head to be. So I'm just gonna now sculpt it exactly how I want my animal to look like. So I'm gonna take this clay, I might press in to make some eye sockets. Might push this down a little bit. I might pull this forward, make some sort of beak. Shape. Okay, so I'm just gonna, whatever I wanted my animal's head to be like, I'm just gonna make the head, right? So you just sculpt with what you have with the clay. All right, so I'm getting like a little beak. I got some eye sockets. I might get a little extra clay here to make some eyes. So what do I need to do to add the eyes? I gotta score and slip the eyes in, right? They can't just be stuck in there or they'll fall right off. So I gotta put some scratch marks. Even just a little bit of the water is enough for it to hold in place. And then I might want to use, this has a little poker. And I can put a pupil in. And then I can take this and slice open for the beak. Right? Maybe I want to poke some holes here. Right? Okay. And then students always ask about ears. So I'll do a cat ear and I'll do a rabbit ear. So if you wanted to do a cat ear, you'd take a piece of clay, roll it into a ball, and then you're gonna pinch with your fingers damp, pinch it and squeeze so that it turns into a triangle. And then I press this into the end here. So it looks like a little cat ear. And then I will score and slip it on and attach that. Anything you attach, you want to make sure that it blends in. So take some sort of tool, right? And blend it in. Okay, and then this one I can make into a bunny ear, so I'll roll it. I'm going to flatten it a little bit. I need to also make an indent for the inside of the ear, right? Like this. Flatten it. And sometimes I like to do like a little bend on the rabbit ear, like maybe a little, right? Make it look like it's bending. Score where I want to put it. Put some slip. Attach it. Blend it in.
He slips and he scores.
Yes. What about teeth? Is that too thin?
Teeth. We'll put some teeth.
This is gonna be one freaky bunny rabbit bird.
Nope, it's about thickness of my pinky. I think it'll be okay. It's on the fragile side, so you just have to be careful of those things. But if they're not sticking way up, right, they're a little bit shorter, they could be okay. This tool is really great for teeth, right here. So basically, if you are running this along the edge, if I open this up, and I run this up like I scrape it, it will look like I'm cutting some teeth into it. This clay's a little on the soft side, so it's not cooperating as much as I'd like it to.
This is a freaky animal.
If it was a little bit stiffer, then it would.
This is a really scary animal.
You could make little teeth if you want. So let's pretend this is our head and this is what we want to now attach to this. So maybe I want to attach it here. This is a really big body, right? I grabbed this small piece of clay.
Armadillo.
We'll put it on this side.
Oh gosh.
So we want it here. So I'm going to mark where I want it to be attached. So this is where I'll put my score marks. And this is, the head of this is thicker than my thumb, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we need to hollow it out. So I'm going to take a tool
How are you gonna put the
like this. Logan, watching? Okay. And then I'm going to then scoop the back of it out, kind of like I'm scooping a pumpkin, right? And getting all the insides out.
She's taking its brain.
I am. I'm going to be an airhead.
You're Igor, except the thing was like, made out of clay.
And I don't want to scoop too much because I don't want it to be too thin in there, but just enough to thin it out. So do you see that?
Yeah.
So I've hollowed out, took out some clay. Yes,
What
Ava?
if it's like a penguin and it's the head is kind of like it looks like it's attached?
I'm going to blend this in and show you how to attach it because that's what I would like.
What if you just add it to the body?
Yes.
Like you make it on the body.
Make it on the body. You can do that. Some people who are doing fish and things like that tend to do that. They make it just from the body. You just have to be careful when manipulating this. So you might need to add a piece of clay and then kind of blend it in. So we'll go ahead and put some slip. I scored here where it's going to be attached. I'm going to wiggle this on.
Oh gosh.
Okay, and then I'm going to use a tool to blend because I want this to look like it's growing out and it's not just stuck on there. So I'm blending, blending, blending.
When I bigger than the other.
Looks like something from my nightmares.
Sorry,
You have
When
nightmares?
I bigger than the other.
it's going to get scarier.
don't have nightmares.
It looks like something that chases me when I had dream.
Bigger eyes, smaller.
Quiet down, quiet down.
There's one big eye and
So maybe that's how he is. This is hollow now, right? The head. And so it's important that we poke a hole so that the head doesn't crack. So you can do a hole underneath here. Is fine. You don't have to put newspaper in it. No, it's quite small, so you don't have to worry about that. Some folks, if they have a mouth, they'll put the hole inside the mouth to hide it so that there's not a hole underneath the chin area here. On mine, I just did a hole underneath right there because it's so small you don't really see it. All right, so next is legs. I'm going to show you 4 different ways to do legs.
if you want to
Do a spider leg.
hide all
What
the
happens
holes, you
if
like
the
poke a hole
clay's too thick?
where the head goes and then like poke a hole out the mouth so it's just one hole instead of like 3 or 2.
Yeah, you can do inside the mouth or underneath the chin. It just needs to have one air hole.
I mean,
Oh, well, this is in hollow. It's not a chamber.
could you make it into a shark?
You could, but you might risk that you didn't do it right or it doesn't cover. So sometimes it's just safe to make sure. I would say even if you had a chamber that goes all the way through, you maybe still poke a hole just to be on the safe side. Okay, Eric was next and then your turn.
So what happens if the clay is too thick?
It will break and crack and explode.
Oh.
Girls, please stop. Thank you. Okay, just a second. Your turn.
Can you do turtle legs? Because I have a turtle fish.
Yep, I'm gonna do a bunch of different legs.
Yeah.
Okay,
Bear.
go ahead. Yes, you can add antlers. I can show you a spider leg, yes.
How would you make like a shark with a bear?
Okay, that's something you'll have to think about. You have to look at your picture, right, and figure out what are the different parts you're gonna do. All right, so some different types of legs. One leg that you can do is quite simple. You'll take a chunk of clay, you'll roll it like this, almost like you're making just a little oval shape, okay? And then you're going to attach that on here and then we'll blend it in, okay? So it's just a little simple leg on the side like this. So I would then put some scratch marks where I would want that to be attached. Scratch marks on here, scoring it. I'm gonna slip, okay? Attach it on. So if this is the leg here, maybe it bends out a little bit. But I want it to blend into the body. So I'm gonna make sure I take something kind of cut at an angle and then blend, 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 blend. So it looks like it's growing out.
Looks like a turtle.
Yeah, so this could be like a little turtle leg or something, okay? Like that. Another leg some students use like for a pig or like a little foot that might be sticking out, just a little teeny foot. They roll a bead, okay? Then they press with their thumb the back of the bead. So then just the front of it is curved and then the back of it has an indent. Then you place your score marks on that part where you just put your thumb. And then you put scratch marks underneath on the bottom half of this. Put some slip there. And then it tucks underneath. And you blend it in like this. Okay. And then it sticks out this way, just a little foot like that. You could carve in little nails or whatever you'd like for a foot that looks like that. Now a back leg. If you wanted a back leg that bent, okay, so you'll roll it like this. And then you're going to bend it. Okay, so I just do an L shape. Yeah? And then we're going to place it on the side here. And then I'm going to draw a line where I would score. So I'm going to draw a line onto my critter. So I know I need to put scratch marks right along that line. And scratch marks along the edge of my leg. And put some slip. And then I need to blend this in. So I'm going to take my knife tool. I'm going to carve up at an angle. Okay, and then I'm going to blend. So that's a way of doing another leg. You could then create some sort of paw or foot or something there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Can you do more
Okay.
than 4 feet?
If you were doing a spider one, right,
Oh, like
you want to be careful with your touch points, right? So you're going to want multiple touch points. It might come out like this and then back in, so maybe a zigzag for a spider, and then have it attach here and then down here, like this. And then blend here and blend here. What's that?
Like a handlebar?
Like a handlebar. But if you had 8 of them, right? And they were out, back in, out, back in, out, back in. But I've had students just go like this, right? And that breaks off. So I have them bend it back in and then have it have a second touch point. All right, a zigzag one for a frog leg. So you zigzag it like this. And then I like to make the toes before I attach it. So I'll open up, put some little marks and make some little rounded toes for a frog or for a lizard. This all needs to be scored and slipped inside.
Is that too thin?
It's a little thin right there, but because I'm attaching it, I think it's going to be okay.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? So I think it'll be all right. So then we will attach this over here.
This is the freakiest animal ever.
It is a pretty freaky animal, but that's okay. We got to be able to get all these different ideas so you guys can see, and then we'll blend.
Can you do a fishtail?
I'm going to do a fishtail. I'll do a long tail, and I'll do like a fin tail, a fishtail.
Do a bird leg.
A bird leg.
Can I keep this?
No.
This thing's gonna be even.
A bird leg, I would
Chicken.
roll this out and then have the end a little rounded, right? Like this. And then I would take the knife tool and put some cut marks in it and separate those out where you would have the claws. And then I would make them pointy. Trying to get in there, it's getting pretty sloppy here. And then take something to curve it over. Right? Now I have to carefully peel it off of this because it's so sticky.
Oh, no, they're attached to each other.
Yeah.
Put a little potato, right?
Essentially, does that make sense? And then you could draw some lines or scales or whatever they have on their legs like that. And then that could get attached and blended in. Okay, I'm gonna crush this. Yes, hon.
How would you make webbed feet?
Same thing. I would go, so I'll just make a little foot here. So if I go like this, I would flatten this out into the shape of the web I want, right? So this is the foot. And then I would make some really small noodles and place them over the top, scoring and slipping them on, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then attach this once you get it, and you could carve this a little bit at an angle so it scoops in between.
I'm gonna flatten out the web a little bit more.
Yeah. And we'll go like this, right? Does that make sense? Flatten it, and then you could add your leg to this top back part. Okay, yes.
How do you do like a dolphin fin?
Okay, we'll get into that. We'll get into fins and tails and things next. All right. So legs were good? All right, so tails and fins and things like that, we need the rolling pin for. So I'm going to take this clay that I have and kind of smash it down. I'm going to do some wings as well. So once I get some of this smashed down. Okay, so behind me, where'd they go? Oh, thank you. Nope, the rolling pin. Thank you. We're going to put these side by side. I'm going to move my creature because I don't want to bonk it. So these are taped together because this is how thick I want the clay to be. There's other slats over there that help. So these will help you to make it so that your clay will only be that thick, which is a good thickness for anything that you're making. So I roll this and I roll it right on top of those, and now it's that thick.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to do a couple of wings, and then I'll do tails. So,
Ooh, wings.
so if you're doing butterfly wings, bird wings, bat wings, you want to cut them together so that they're equal. So I'm going to cut down the center here, and then I'll use one as a stencil for the other one. I'm going to actually do a butterfly wing, so I can just kind of show you that look. And then I'm also going to do a bird wing. But if you were going to do a butterfly wing, that one on the same side, I would then lift this up and flip it on top and then trace it so they're the same. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. But for now, I'm going to do 2 different wings just so you can see. So I'm going to do a bird wing. Remove this. I'm going to do a wing that is more on the safer side and a wing that's a little more on the fragile side, so you can see which one you would like to do if you're doing wings. So I would take this and I would carve in any details that you might want for your butterfly wing, right? So what textures, what details do you want? So this version is going to be the kind of unsafe, you're welcome to do it, but you have to kind of decide if it might break off or not. So you have to be very careful. So first it goes like this, like it's up, and we draw a line on our critter where we know where it's going to get the scratch marks. And I'm going to go ahead and scratch. And then I'm going to put scratch marks right on here of where it's going to be attached. And then I'm going to put some slip. And then I will go ahead and place it on and wiggle it in place. I need to now blend underneath so that it will be attached to the body. And I might even then run my finger along this edge just to get it to stick, right? So this is as thick as my pinky. It's gonna be okay, but it's because it's sticking out of the body, it runs a risk of possibly falling off. So you never know. This leg is falling off because it keeps getting moved. So this wing we're going to do laying down flat on its back, like it just has it kind of, remember, did I show you the one that had the,
Yes.
where I had it laying down? So I'm going to draw a line here, so I know that's where I need to put scratch marks. So scratch, scoring, 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 slip. I'll place this on here, and then I'll blend this into body. Then I can go in and put some feather details or whatever I want. And this is safe. This is not going to break off because it's right on top of the body. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. There's nothing sticking out of it that could be in danger. So I could go in and add little feather details or textures to make it look, you know, more realistic or whatever I'd like to do. Okay? Mm-hmm. All right, so we're going to use this other piece for a fin tail. So I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut it. I'm going to do more like a fish, but if you were cutting like a whale tail, you could do that, or a dolphin tail. So I just cut it out like this. And then I'm going to cut it kind of a, oh, you can use this too. These are nice. Make it kind of a zigzaggy, wavy.
What is this?
Fish tail.
A fish tail. Then I like to put some lines, because you know how fish have those little lines and grooves. So I'll do this first before I put it on. Sometimes it's hard to do once it's on your creature, especially if it's sticking out. And then this needs to be curved because it's straight on this edge and it's going to be hard to attach. So I'm going to cut it as a curve, or a little crescent curve out of it. Put some scratch marks here. Put some scratch marks here where it wants to be attached. And then this will fit here, right? And put some slip.
Are you going to put this in the fire?
No, I don't ever
Recycle.
fire these. I just recycle it because I make 2 each trimester, so that's 6 a year, and this is my 13th year, so I'd have way too many little critters that I don't need. 26. I do recycle them. I do recycle them. So then we'll just maybe bend this a little bit so if it's in motion it looks, you know, like it's flowing or something, maybe. Makes it look a little bit more,
How'd you make a bird tail?
makes it a little bit more interesting. Same way, you could then take this, you know, and turn it and then make it stick like this if it was a bird tail.
How did you make like a
I'm going to show
peacock?
you in a minute. Just let it be.
That would
Okay.
be actually cool.
A
The same thing, just like cut.
Yeah, and make it long.
dog tail or a cat tail or some sort of tail of that sort. You're gonna roll this. It could be a scorpion tail, right?
That's me.
You will then make this how you want it to look. I like to sometimes use the fork tool along the edge here because it looks like then sometimes fur. You do little scratches into it like this and it might have that kind of furry look to it texture wise. And then remember we talked about touch points, right? So I can't just have this coming out of here. This could break